Do you want to be better in business or life? Do you want to be able to execute and succeed? You must have a positive mindset. You must believe and stay focused. Do you know what it takes? It takes fuel. Welcome to Fuel Your Drive.
Everyone, welcome to Fuel Your Drive. I'm your host, Josh York. As you know, everything's about purpose, and this podcast is to give listeners a behind-the-scenes insight to some of the most effective practices of successful entrepreneurs today. And today, we have a very special guest. Guys, I have to tell you, this episode is going to break the servers. Not too many people inspire me, but this man inspires me. And you know I get fired up all the time, but this is going to take my energy to a whole nother level. So with that said, the man I'm going to bring on the show today, well, he went from being broke to showering at a public pool to being one of the most influential business leaders in the world. His original dream was to play Major League Baseball, but due to a career-ending injury, that changed quickly. With a powerful mindset, the right energy, this man has become the chairman of World Financial Group. And I have to tell you, him and I are alike in so many ways. It's crazy. But the first thing I want to say is it's one thing to build a business, but it's another to build a bicep. And we're going to touch on that. But guys, get ready to max out. Get ready to fuel your drive. Welcome my man, Ed Mylett. Ed, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Great to be with you. And that is easily the highest energy intro in the history of podcasts that I've been on. So I'm going to remember that one for sure.
That's how we roll, baby. That's how we roll. Ed, thank you so much, man. I'm so fired up. And I got to tell you, man, listen, I'm not a big guy into wearing athletes jerseys and all that or being crazy on people, but
you've listened to my
stuff. I respect you.
Thank you, brother.
Listen, I respect you. You inspire me, man. I really like you. And look, I want people to understand, for those who don't know about you, what has led you as far as you've gone so far? Like maybe you could walk through that little path.
Well, like a lot of people, I grew up in a very not perfect family. A good family, but not a perfect one. So without getting into a whole bunch of details, because we took blow by blow, I'm an old man. That would take a long time to tell the whole story. But what did form me and shape me, and by the way, before I tell you this, I believe strongly that everything happens for you and not to you, everything in your life. And that's easy to know in hindsight, but it's difficult to have that perspective during the moment. But my dad was an alcoholic my entire upbringing. He's my best friend now. He's been sober for 33 years, I think. But when I lived in their house, he was an alcoholic. So everything that comes with anxiety of having a dysfunctional family, I grew up with. So I was an insecure, shy, introverted young man. And, but what was good about my dad's drinking is I would have to assess when my dad would walk in at night, right? Like, which dad am I getting? Am I getting sober dad or really upset drunk dad? Is it going to be the dad who's a little bit aggressive or the loving dad? And all of those skills I built up when I'm 4, 5, 6 years old serve me to this day in business because I deal with people. I coach some of the top professional athletes, business people, politicians in the country. And one of my jobs is to assess them and then give them information on how to do better, right? And so it served me that my dad was an alcoholic. The other thing that served me is once my baseball career was over, I was unemployed. My dad had come home from one of his first AA meetings. My dad still goes to 4 meetings a week, believe it or not, 33 years later. Came home for a meeting, goes, I got you a job. I was living back at their house, broke. My dad goes, I got you a damn job. Show up tomorrow morning at McKinley Home for Boys. I'm like, what is it? He goes, I have no idea. You're just going. I show up there. I walk in the door, and I don't know what the job is. They're like, well, we can't hire you if you know the job. I said, I don't know. I'm here to work. My dad sent me. They're like, we don't know who your daddy is, dude. Go home. And I said, well, okay. I get to the door, and I go, well, the guy's name's Tim. They go, there's a lot of Tims. I go, well, he must be an alcoholic because he was at an AA meeting with my dad. Like, they go, oh, drunk Tim. That's Cottage 8. And I went to Cottage 8. What McKinley was an orphanage for a group home for boys. My boys were all wards of the court, means their parents were dead, incarcerated, or had molested them. And instantly I walk into Cottage 8. There's 10 boys. They're all 8 to 10 years old. And instantly my life changed in that moment, like literally like lightning striking, because these boys have the same eyes as me. You come up with any abuse or dysfunction in your family, we just grow up different. I know when I meet people, man. They just want to be loved, believed in. We're just a little different than people that come from these perfect families. And I instantly connected with these boys. And all these boys wanted was someone to love them, believe in them, coach them, help them get better in life. And I was there when they came home from school. I was there for Christmas. I was there for Halloween. I became like their dad, big brother. It altered my existence because before that, my entire life was about me being an athlete, big ego, achievement. And in that second, I shifted like, whoa, like I like helping people. My calling is to change other people's lives. What the hell? I can't believe it. Like I had no idea I'd like it. And I fell in love with it. And I took that perspective. And when I worked there is when I found my first business, my financial business that you referenced, one of the many businesses I have, but my primary one for many years. And I went into business as a young person. Weird. I didn't go in to make money. I did not. I went into the business to help, believe, care, and teach people to be better in their life, just like I was doing with the boys. Now I'm 48 years old, and really nothing's changed in my life other than who I do it with. I started with 8 to 10-year-old boys at McKinley, and now I do it with, a quarterback you see on TV, a business person, or a politician of some type or an actor. So it's not changed. It's just that's what altered my life was McKinley. So my point is, long answer, my dad's drinking happened for me, not to me. I made it so.
Look at that. That's fantastic. And that's really moved me. And that's really says a lot about you and your character and your heart. So that's a great thing you do. And look, I don't have to get into my life, but my life was pretty rough too. But at the end of the day, to kind of shift into my next question, people always say to me, well, if you were raised a certain way, that affects you. And I always say, look, at the end of the day, you choose your destiny regardless of how you were raised. And this is the perfect example, what you touched on right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously now you've been successful. You've had a lot of great success. Everyone, look, a lot of people know about you and you're growing. And again, like I said, I'm impressed, but obviously you've had failures along the way. What would you say you've learned and what's been your biggest failure that you really made along the way?
That's a long list, bro. What you just said, though, is really profound. Prior to that, I just want to acknowledge something. It's not the events of our life that define us. It's not. It's the meaning we take away from those events, because meanings equal emotion. So I'll give you an extreme example. You and I, there's a car accident in front of my house. You and I run out there and a young boy dies in our arms. We go, this is a tragedy. We take the meaning away that it's a tragedy that scar us for life. Mother Teresa, this is extreme. Mother Teresa said the greatest honor of her life when she felt the most connected to God and peaceful was when she was with somebody as they died and their soul transferred from their body to heaven. Same exact event. It'd be her honor and blessing to be there. Me and you, it's a tragedy. Same event, different meaning, different emotions, different life. So the quality of your life is the meanings you take from events, not the events. This is huge because if you're struggling in your life or you're not happy, you keep drawing the wrong meanings from these events. You keep wanting the events to change. You keep thinking, my life will change if the events will change. No, your life will change if the meanings change from the events. And so that leads to failures. Not a ton of them. Too many to list. But what I have done a pretty good job of, and I've screwed up a lot of things in my life, but what I've done a pretty good job of is I take the right meanings from events. I'm constantly taking them. How has this happened for me? Why is this happening for me? Extreme example. My dad's got cancer and it's serious, right? You're like, how's that happening for you? It's terrible. No, that's not the meaning I'm taking. And it's hard. This is another extreme example. Let me tell you the good things of my dad's cancer. Good things, I value my time with my dad much more. There was a time where I'm such a busy dude, I'd see dad's name on the phone, being really honest, I'd call him back. You know what I mean? Like, Dad, I'm in a meeting. Now I grab it when it's my dad. My time, my moments with my dad matter more. Moments with my own children matter more. Material things matter less. It's put things in perspective in my life. I've learned a lot about cancer. My own health matters more to me. Even that happened for our family. We're a closer family. My dad's become more vulnerable, a more approachable guy. Now that this event's happened, that's happened for me. Biggest failure of my life, though, I would say, was what you referenced earlier. When I went so broke as an entrepreneur that I'd lost a home, then we had a car repossessed, and then it got to where the water was turned off. We had our power turned off a few times. I could deal with that. When you lose water, your life's toast, man. You can't cook, you can't bathe. And we ended up, you referenced it in the intro, but just so everybody knows, I got so broke that I was a newlywed. My wife and I met when we were in kindergarten and dated in high school. And then we got married, and we were so broke that we would have to get up in the morning in our apartment. It's really cold where we lived. And we'd have to walk downstairs to the pool, the apartment pool, the outdoor pool. There was one shower outside there, and we'd take a shower there every morning and brush our teeth. And then I'd have to walk up totally emasculated, freezing with my wife, holding a towel up while she showered, and then go in my house and put a suit on and pretend I was a successful entrepreneur and go battle those failure thoughts in my mind that I couldn't escape every morning because I had to get up to go take that shower. It wasn't like some mental toughness thing. I had to go take that stupid shower. what's ironic is it was a cold shower. And now one of the things I teach every morning is to take a cold shower because it gives you fight or flight. It wakes up your body. It's one of the things in my book. So that was probably the greatest failure, is having my water turned off. It was the most embarrassing of my life.
Well, first off, Ed, I'm really sorry to hear about your father.
Thanks, bro.
And, yes. And, I really appreciate what you say because, I'm a big believer, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this. I feel like people stop too early, like if they're on the path and you believe something, like, I'm a big believer that you have to get it in your mind, and you have to think about it all the time. Just become so crazy. Like, look, I'm crazy in a good way, but I am out of control crazy. Like, I pictured this happening. I have to tell you, like, just so you know, I don't want you thinking I'm like some psycho, but like, I literally pictured this. I put it in my mind. I visioned it. I've been visioning it for a while. It was I can't explain it. Like, I felt it. And recently I was watching a video of you. I forgot who I was watching with, and you were talking about, and it's crazy because I've done this before. I probably wasted more brokers' times over the years, and I'm younger, so I'm not, at the point where you are yet, but you at one point said, I think it was you told your wife, or, at the time you were about to get married, you're like, we're going to live there one day. I'd went to homes just to see homes, just to feel it, to be in it. Like, I literally would sit in the bathtub just to put myself there. So when you were going through all those, when you were going through all those tough times, what do you think people need to understand to keep going? Because yes, it could get bad, but you have to believe it. But what do you think people need to understand?
I put a post out about this today, brother. Number one, I love you. So one, your obsessions become your possessions. You're going to obsess.
Yes.
You're going to be obsessed. You're going to possess what you're obsessed with. You're obsessed with your worries, fears, and problems. You are going to possess those. And so I just put a post out about it today. You are one conversation, one meeting, one phone call, one distinction, one breakthrough, one podcast, one new relationship away from a totally different life. And so most people in today's world have a vision issue, but it's not what most people will tell you. Most people tell you, where there's no vision, people perish. Personal development people love to quote that scripture. They love to go, people don't have any vision. That's such an overcooked thing in personal development. Most people have a vision nowadays because you got a computer, you got a podcast, you got the Kardashians, whatever. You got TV, you got images. Most people have a vision of what they want. They know where they kind of like to live or what they'd like to be like. Here's what they have an issue with. They have a depth perception issue. They think it's further away than it is. And it causes you to act like that. So you constantly keep your goals and dreams at a distance. And because you think it's so far away, you quit. It's like life is like a big bank account. It kills me to see people work so hard and then give up because they thought they were still far away. And man, you were one away. You were one meeting away, one breakthrough, one account, one client, one recruit, one meeting, man. You were that close. And what happens is you make all these deposits. Here's how rich people get rich. You ready? You make all the deposits. You quit. We stick around and we collect on the big withdrawal. And so personal development or winning, all these people are always talking about all the work. Here's a biggie. A biggie is stay long enough to collect. Because you're not as far as you think away. It may seem miles away. You may be more broke than you've ever been in your freaking life. You could be on top ramen and borrowing money from everybody you know. You're freaking closer than you think. Trust me. Yes. Don't give up right before it's about to freaking happen. And that's what people do. 100%. And when you quit, it's a habit. And when you quit, that becomes habitual, and you quit on everything, man. And if you're listening to this, you know it. You keep quitting crap. You quit relationships. You quit businesses. You quit your effort. You quit your workout. You quit your diet. Stop effing quitting, right? Stay at something. Why don't you see how good you could get if you went to the finish line? If you went to the freaking finish line, like cross the line, then count the chips. And what you got to do is you have to stop negotiating the price you're paying. You're constantly doing it, aren't you? In your mind, you're negotiating. Oh, what's it costing me? I don't like going any longer. I don't see my friends anymore. It's money. And your family's going, this is costing too much. It's costing too much. And you know what? You're negotiating it all the time. It steals your energy. It steals your focus. Negotiate the price in advance. Accept that you have to suffer. Once you accept the suffering, life is much easier. And so business is the only place where people think suffering is an indication of loss. Like you're losing because you're suffering. Only in business do people think that. I went to the gym this morning. There's hundreds of people. All of us knew when we walked in the door, we were about to suffer. We'd already negotiated that. When I got there, I know I'm supposed to suffer, so I grow. In business, all of a sudden people go, I'm suffering. It must not be for me. It's the only place where we don't accept suffering. So once you accept you're supposed to suffer, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to be painful, and that's the only way you grow, just like the gym, you're going to win because you'll stop negotiating it all the time. I don't go to the gym and go, I just don't know if I want to get sore today. I don't know if I want to get sweaty. No one freaking does that. You just go and work out. That's how business should be. Stop negotiating it. So that's my answer.
Dude, you're getting me so crazy that I want to grab the computer screen and just break it. Like, you were getting me so fired up, man. Like, I don't think you understand. Listen, Ed, the energy you and I have is out of control, but this is so funny because this leads to the next thing I talk about all the time. It's one thing to build a bicep, okay? And it's one thing to build a business. But I always look at people who are very fit in a different light than normal people because it starts with pain. It's all about pain, and you touched on it. And it's literally the next thing I'm talking about because my philosophy, look, I take these crazy ice baths. You talk about cold. I go and bath at 32 degrees of water. I duct tape my mouth and breathe out of my nose only during intense cardio. All this stuff makes you tougher. It makes your mindset stronger. So when we talk about mindset, I'm sure you'll agree with this philosophy. Your mindset is everything. And whatever you put in your mind that you believe, people don't realize how tough you can really be if you allow yourself to constantly sharpen your tools every day to get better each and every day to move the needle. Would you not agree?
3,000,000%. I love doing things I know other people aren't willing to do because it trains my mind long term that I'm going to get things other people aren't going to get. So it's odd. I'm a psycho just like you are, I can tell. I get off almost on doing things I know most people wouldn't be crazy enough to do because and by the way, I do this out of necessity. When you meet someone like me or you who's outwardly seems pretty self-confident or we really got our act together with our mindset, what most people need to see, that's the after. The before is, hey, I had to do this stuff to be a functioning human. Like I come from such a low place of self-esteem and mental weakness. I had to build these muscles just to function, but then I got addicted to it and then I became elite at it. So don't look at us like we're different than you. And what I had to do is first off, my body's a huge area for me because it's the one area I can keep the promises I make to myself. Self-confidence is keeping the promises that you make to yourself, not that you make to other people. When I meet a self-confident person, I go, this is someone who consistently keeps the promises they make to themselves. When I meet someone who lacks self-confidence, this is somebody who constantly breaks promises they make to themselves. They can't trust themselves. Self-confidence is self-trust. People conflate that. So fitness was the area I could control. Oh, I can get there. I can do 8 sets of 10 or 10 sets of 8. I can control. This is where I started to build me, was my body, by keeping the promises I made to myself there, which eventually transcended and transitioned over into business. So 100% true about mindset. It's everything in life.
Everything. Listen, one day we got to do this stuff, but I'm telling you, man. So I started doing this crazy intense cardio, and this is literally the other day in the gym. And we're going to talk about discipline in a second and motivation. But I'm in the gym the other day and this woman comes up to me and she says, excuse me, sir, is there something wrong with you? This is what she said to me. And I was like looking at her and I watch her. She does the same thing every day. Her body never changes, just consistently does the same thing. And I'm literally like, not just the weights, but my cardio workouts are so intense that I literally, like, sometimes I leave, I can't hear out my ears. I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But something that's very important, I tell everybody, because everyone's like, Josh, you're so motivated. And I'm sure people say, Ed, you're so motivating all the time. And it's not, though, because I know you have these days, because I have these days, and I'm pretty crazy just like you. But come on, what about the days when you don't want to get up? I tell everyone it's called discipline. You have to be disciplined. You know, and I could have a sniper outside my window every day like clockwork. I don't care if I have the flu. I don't care if there's a natural disaster. Nothing stops me. Even when I travel, I will drive to a gym, or Uber it, an hour away and wake up an extra hour just to get my workout in. So let's talk about discipline and motivation, because that is so important and so many people overlook it.
Yeah, I'm a big guy on rituals and habits. So that's what you have. You have the habit and ritual of getting to the gym or doing your cardio. So one of the big things and I talk about this in my book. I'm going to do something for your group because I'm really liking you. So my book is called Maxed Out. It's at maxoutbook.com. I'll give your audience just the book for free. And by the way, there's no upsell like, oh, get my free book. Now I'm going to sell you some bananas or a personal development program. There's no ClickFunnels update on my book. It's just free. So use the code MAXOUT. My book's free. Everybody in your audience can get it.
Appreciate
maxoutbook.com. Use the code MAXOUT. In the book, I talk a lot about what you're referring to, which is habits and rituals. And I share what most of mine are. My first 30 minutes of my day, my last 30 minutes of my day. I'm a big believer. If you can control the first 30 minutes of your day and the last 30, you have a higher probability of controlling the middle. You're not always going to, but you can control the middle of the day better. And so under pressure, we always resort to our habits. And so I want to even override discipline and go a level past that, which is you're going to do what's habitual for you. So when you're tired, fatigued, down, depressed, or stressed, your habits kick in. And so the most successful people that I work with, their habits are reflexive. You just reflex into that habit. So I'm the same way. When I go on the road, I know most people go, oh, I'm staying at the so-and-so hotel. There's no gym here. I'm not going to work out today. And then I'm like, I can do something most people aren't willing to do. Get me a damn Uber. I don't give a shit where I'm going. Excuse my language, right? I'll go 45 minutes, an hour and a half. And then when I get there, I'm going to outwork everybody's ass who goes there every single day. So that's my habit and ritual. The other part of it is your standards, what you'll accept for yourself. If everyone will evaluate, what are my real habits? What are my real rituals? And what is my real standard? What's your real standard for yourself? You will always get your standards. So I set super high standards and I'm constantly evolving them because you will always get your standard. You won't always get what you want or you'd like or you'd hope for. You don't even get what you dream for. You're going to get your standard. And you get your standard through your habits. So I'm always evaluating what's my standard on my body, what's my standard on my fitness, what's my standard on my money, what's my standard in my family, my standard in my faith, because I always get that. And if you could elevate that standard of yours, you're going to elevate your life. So that's how I feel on discipline. Discipline to me is standards, habits, and rituals.
Spot on, man. Spot on. Listen, it's so funny. Every time I travel and people like, oh, you want to come out tonight, and unless it's going to be something that's going to create a business relationship, I'm not a big club guy. I'm not one of those guys that go out. I'm like, nah, I'm sorry. I got to get up tomorrow. I got to get to the gym. The gym? What are you talking about? Take a couple of days off. What's the big deal? Like, here's my wife all the time. She's like, what's the matter with you? She's like, just take tomorrow off. No, you don't get it. Yes, you don't get it. I was like, you don't understand it. And that's why I also say, because my wife, listen, I remember when I was sitting in my parents' dining room telling her we're going to be the largest fitness brand in the world. And I was telling her all this crazy stuff. And I pointed to exactly where I live. I send her pictures of the home I'm going to have over here and over here. And she's like, Josh, let's just focus on today. I go, no, you don't understand. You understand because you and me are cut from the same cloth. But it's really kind of crazy because I always tell people, you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. And I use the working out, for example, but another example, like I tell our franchisees this all the time. If you can go into a large crowded area, supermarket, shopping center, get on a ladder, walk up to the top, get everyone's attention, and then start singing on the top of your lungs, Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. That's pretty uncomfortable, right? That's very uncomfortable. But if you could do that, you'll achieve success. Just like when you speak. Come on, Ed. I'm sure you get that feeling in your stomach, but I'm sure you use it for fuel, for power. Most people don't. Sure. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts of me talking about, do you agree with this? Being uncomfortable to get comfortable for people to get better, to move the needle.
Yeah, I just accepted yes. And so here's what I just remind myself. The price I'm going to pay to make my goal or dream happen is infinitely smaller than the one I'll pay if I don't. So I'm always I'm a pain avoidance guy. So like I'm constantly going, man, oh yeah, it's going to take me this money, this effort, this stress, this energy, but the price I'll pay if I don't is greater. I'll give you an example. My fitness, people ask me, why are you sort of, pretty obsessed with your fitness? I had a heart attack when I was 30. And so I know what almost dying feels like. So the sacrifice of me going to the gym and the discomfort I'm going to go through, I'll tell you a quick story real fast. This is how you get leverage on people. I went to see the doctor and he's like, most doctors just go, okay, here's our prescription. Lipitor, low fat, whatever. He didn't do that. He first got leverage on me. So he played with me a little bit. He goes, young man, he goes, let me ask you a question. Do you have any kids? I said, yeah, I got a boy and a girl. And he goes, your boy, you want to be there when he graduates high school? I said, what? He goes, I said, do you want to be there when your son graduates high school? I said, yeah. What are you saying? He goes, how about your little girl? I go, yeah. He goes, do you want to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day? I went, what? He He goes, I'm asking you if you want to walk your daughter down the aisle. You don't tell a dad about his daughter's wedding, trust me, right? I said, of course I do. He goes, I want to be very clear with you, son. The rate you're going with your working out and your diet, with your genetics, some other man's going to be there on your son's graduation day, not you. You'll be long gone. Hopefully you won't die so early that they forget what you look like. This is when my kids were little.
Wow.
And your daughter, there'll be another man on her arm walking her down that aisle on her wedding day. And I went,
God.
And he goes, I went, what? And he said, but if you listen to what I'm going to tell you, your diet, your nutrition, your supplementation, and some medication, you'll be there on her wedding day. I'm going to tell you right now, brother, many mornings I get up at about 5 a.m. when I'm ready to go to the gym and I don't want to go. Or I'm on the road at that hotel. You know what goes off in my mind? Bella's wedding. Bella's wedding. It's reflexive. He sewed that into my soul, right? The price I'll pay to go to that gym is infinitely smaller than the price I'll pay if I don't. Same with my business. The price you're paying right now, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, is nothing compared to the price you'll pay the rest of your life knowing you didn't do it. Nothing. So that's how I navigate that inspiration versus desperation part of my life.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I love that. Love that. Absolutely love that. So, Ed, I know, obviously you own a lot of businesses. I know you're part of a lot of the things, but look, I always talk about surrounding yourself with great people. Like I never want to be in the room with someone who's got less money than me, someone who's not as smart or smarter than me, because that's how you move the needle. And I'm a big believer on the whole teamwork makes the dream work. So over the years, how have you been able to really surround yourself with great people? Because I know how to do this, right? But other people need to hear it from a person like yourself, because people don't understand it, And I always say you can judge who you hang around with. And, the term your network equals your net worth. Yes, I agree with that. But I'm not saying don't be friends with, one of your friends because he's, not as successful as you. But it is very important to put yourself in that position. So, how do you do that?
I'm obsessed with it. It's the number one thing that's changed my life. The number one thing that's changed my life is my association. So the quality of your life is linked to your identity. Whatever your identity is, what you're going to get out of your life. And your identity is shaped by who you hang around. So I got friends from high school still. My wife's from high school, right? So I got friends from high school that are in my life. But I have knocked, like what we're doing right now, I've knocked the doors down, forced my way in to building friendships with people that are way in front of me. So in my case, I've joined different groups that they were a part of just to go meet them there. I belong to a golf club that I probably couldn't have afforded to join when I was 30 years old. I met Phil Knight and Sly Stallone and John Elway and all these guys that are my buddies now that you see on my show. They were my friend. They were strangers to me back then. I got in front of them, and I'm a big believer in, I don't want mentors. I want mentors, but I want the higher level of influence isn't mentors, friends. If you have kids, if you're listening to this, they're mentors, they're school teachers. And their school teachers have influence over their life, no question about it. We all have 4 or 5 teachers, but those people really affected me. But we all know who we're worried about our kids hanging around, and that's their friends. Their friends influence them. So I try to turn my mentors into friends, and I've done a really good job of that. And my life is constantly adding those people. They're almost like my board of directors. I've got a group of mentors that are in my faith life. I've got a couple mentors that are my fitness buddies. They're not the same people either. And then I've got some that are business. You name it. And so I'm constantly upgrading those people. And the way I do it is I get my way in there. But I'm a big believer in the law of reciprocity. So the way that you turn a mentor into a friend is you do something for them that's of value, whether that's your connections, your collaborations, your belief, your hopes, a book you recommend, your love, whatever it is. It's reciprocal. And so I've turned these people who are at a distance, very difficult to get to know, into very close friends of mine because they see value in me as well. And so that's been my life has been altered most outside of my faith by my friendships. And I've worked on who those people are. You need to be intentional with finding these people. It's my intention to find these people, to collaborate, to connect, to become friends with them. I have one guy right now I'm working on. Oh, the other thing I try to do is there's a little tip. I try to connect people with other people who can help them as well. So if it's not me that can bring them value, I'm like, I know so-and-so who I can connect with you. And I bring value to them that way. And so I have a guy right now I'm working on. He's a political figure who I want to get closer to. I'm on my 3rd text to him. And he's a very, very well-known guy. I'm on my 3rd text. He'll respond to me eventually. And we're going to become friends. He just doesn't know it yet. So, yeah. That's how I do it.
Listen, I love it. That's what I said right now. And look, this is happening right now. And I said this was going to happen.
Correct.
But
yep, that's exactly
right. So this segues into the perfect part right here. walk me through, let people know what I sent you, because I always think like there's no box. And I've sent out a lot of these tires. There's only one man who hasn't gotten back to me yet. And I know he's good friends with you, my man, Andy Priscilla. Him and I will connect, but he has not got back to me. But I've shipped out all those tires. But Ed, let's walk everyone through this process of you getting this package. Because I know you were just like, what the hell is this?
Well, it's a perfect example. By the way, Andy texted me as we've been talking. He's my business partner, as you know, in my coaching program called the RTA Syndicate. We have a coaching program together. It's the most unique thing I've ever received. So all of a sudden, I mean, you can describe how you did it because I don't know, but all of a sudden my wife goes, I was gone. And my wife goes, there's a tire in our living room. And I'm like, what the hell did you say? She goes, and I get a lot of gifts, right? I get a lot of stuff. And I don't mean to say this the wrong way, but I get so much stuff that my staff sifts through stuff. And so I don't see a lot of it. I just can't. I wouldn't have an hour in the day. I'm blessed that enough people, I'm so grateful because 20 years ago, no one wanted to send me anything. Now I'm blessed that they do. But years got through the barrier because of what it was. And so my wife said, you need to get back here. And she said, she goes, I just think this is unique. She goes, you ought to see who this person is and connect with them. They took the time to do this. This wasn't like, hey, here's a thank you card. And so I come home and there's a tire in my living room and it's a note from you. And here we are. So yeah.
Here we are. So let me walk you through this process because you're going to love this. And I'm twisted, man. So I have like these superstitions. So first of all, the woman at the store hated me because I was coming back with tires every day. And this woman, like literally, she would see me and she'd go to the back. She'd go to the back, man, and she'd hide. So I'm in the store right now. Like I was ready to shoot a story. And literally, you know, let's let FedEx know that this woman is a horrible employee. So anyway, she's like, yes, sir. How can I help you? I was like, I got to ship another tire. She's like, okay. She's like, where's it going? She's like, you can leave it. I'll take care of it. Now, I wouldn't leave the store until it was done because it had to be in the package. It had to be perfect. The note had to be taped this way. I had to stuff it properly. Now, keep in mind, people, this box, like you could fit a human in it. It was a huge box. It was the biggest box you could get.
Gigantic.
You know, I spent like $200, gigantic. And the note was, my drive and intensity will leave tread marks all over your floor. We need to connect. I'm running the fastest growing fitness brand, blah, blah, blah. And the point is, so you're going to love this. So this was like, I shipped out a couple tires. Yours, I saved the best for last. So now I'm in the store. The woman's like, well, you're going to have to wait a while. She was like being kind of nasty to me, you know? So I went next door. There was like a drugstore. I kid you not. I bought a lounge chair. I opened up the lounge chair in the FedEx. I sat there and she was like looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, I'll just sit here and hang out. She was being so nasty to me. So after 2.5 hours, finally, she zipped the box up. I made sure I was taped. But there's a reason I'm saying this because we're going to segue into something else. And finally, I knew I can go. I waited another hour for the guy to pick it up to make sure it was in there because I didn't trust her. I thought she hated me so much she was going to throw the box out.
Wow.
So I spent almost half a day to ship that tire to you. Because why? It's the detail. Now, going back to being uncomfortable and not doing things you don't want to do, this is why I tell people you have to do things that others won't do. Look, back in the day, Ed, I once cased 2 coffee shops and I didn't sleep for like 48 hours just to meet one person to get a meeting. I found out what time they went, ran in, found out what kind of coffee they had. The next day, I was waiting there for them with the coffee. Now, how many people are going to do stuff like that? No, nobody. Right. Nobody. So the point I'm making is that's what you have to do. And I'm really happy that tire got to you. And listen, I'm feeling a serious connection. So I'm really happy we're able to do this. But listen, I have 2 more questions. And this one might.
Can I just say one thing about you, brother? Like, I want you to know, I've been in business for, I don't know, 30 years. It's the most unique thing anyone's ever sent me. So it's like, appreciate that. Unless I lose my memory, I will not ever forget that. I mean, think about that though. I mean, all of you should be getting creative like that. And by the way, you spend a lot of money to do that too. And there's ways to do something like that aren't quite as expensive. But I don't know, man. Like I remember thinking this is a special human when that happened. Just a special human.
I appreciate that.
And I love special humans. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
No, I appreciate that. So listen, this question usually throws people off. And I know you do a lot of interviews. And I don't know if you've got this one before, but if you were conducting this interview, what question would you ask?
A lot of things, but I like to ask people if somebody could get 2 minutes with you, as I do with a lot of my guests. They met you at a Starbucks and they paid for your time. and they could ask you anything. They want to transform their life. They come today to listen to this with their life not where they want it to be, and they want to transform it, right? And you got 2 minutes. You don't get 30 minutes. You got 2 minutes. What would you tell them? What would your advice be to them on the most important thing to transform their life? And then I would ask me that probably, because I ask every guest on my show. That's the only repetitive question on my show.
I like it. So what's the answer? Well, you were 2 minutes.
Mine's twofold. One, if you have faith, rely on it. So depending on what your faith is, I do have faith. I'm a Christian. I don't judge people's faiths. I love if you believe in the universe, the quantum field, you're a Muslim. It doesn't matter to me. I think it's wonderful. Okay. Having said that, I'm amazed by how many people check God at the door in business. The God's there Sundays. God's there to protect their families. God's there in a tragedy, but God isn't going to help you in business. That's a sad thing to go business alone. So for me, God's with me all the time. He's got my back. He wants my favor. But the second thing is the part I can control, which is my identity, which we talked about earlier. You're never in your life going to exceed your identity. Your identity is a thermostat. I'm looking at it right now. It's sitting on the wall right there. Your identity is the thoughts, concepts, and beliefs you hold to be most true about yourself. And what happens in our life is we constantly are trying to fix our external presentation, all these things we're trying to fix. But that thermostat's set in this room. So check this out. It's set at 74 degrees right now. I'm looking at it. And you know what? That's what's going to regulate the temperature of this room, and your identity is going to regulate the temperature of your life. If we open this door and hot air blew in here, 90 degrees of air, it ain't going to be 90 degrees in my life or in my room, because that thing's going to turn the air conditioner on and cool that room to 74 degrees. We open the door, cold air blew in, 30 degrees, they're going to heat it to 74 degrees. Your life, here's what keeps happening to you. You get it going. You start to produce some results. Maybe it's your body or your money, and your results begin to exceed your identity. You unconsciously turn the air conditioner on, and you're cooling your life right back down to what you believe you deserve. So you do it over and over and over again. The only way to change the external results of your life is to change the internal thermostat, which is your identity. And if you don't change that, you can have all the behaviors, all the thoughts, all the dreams, all the visions, all the work ethic, all the intensity, all the mindset. You can have all of that. You're going to get your thermostat setting in your life every single time. And so my obsession in my life, and mainly is through association, is fixing that number from 74 to 84 to 94 to 204. And by the way, when stuff happens in your life, you always think it's coincidental. My car broke down. There was no good food in the restaurant. No, none of it's coincidental. None of it. It's you getting your identity. You're sabotaging it. You're getting your... Same thing's also true. Things go real crappy. You find a way to turn the heater on and get life back where it always was. You always do. You always do. The bottom line is if you don't change that thermostat setting, you're not going to change your life. That would be my 2 minutes.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. As I always say, this two-shot pass, that applies to success. That applies to failure. People need to remember that and understand that. But listen, last thing to finish off, it's not really so much a question. It's just more like we're going to make this happen. I heard you saying you're not a great barbecuer. So Ed, I'm coming over one day. We got to work this out. I'm going to barbecue with you a nice steak. I'm going to give you a couple of tips, my man. We're going to make it happen and make some magic happen. But Ed, thank you so much for coming on. People are going to gain so much out of this. Any last words you want to share?
No, my honor. I think you're special. So the tire confirms it. There's a special energy about you. I feed off energy, man. And you have a real authentic energy. I think you're a good man. I think you want to help people. And what's unique in the world is when someone takes their talents and blessings and their insights and they use those things to better other people's lives. And I'm always down with connecting for people like that because it's about 1% of the 1%. And I see that on you, brother. And so I look forward to that steak. I hope we do it sooner than later.
We're going to lock it in, man. We're going to lock it in. I appreciate those kind words. It means a lot, man. And with that said, thank you for listening to Fuel Your Drive. I'm your host, Josh York. Until the next one, take care.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast, Fuel Your Drive. Please be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'd really appreciate it. And also, make sure you follow GYMGUYZ on Instagram. And of course, myself, Josh York GG. We're going to change the world. And we want to help you along the journey.